Hey guys, my name is Ross Garner. I'm the strength and conditioning coordinator here at Southwest Florida Christian Academy. So I wanted to put this video together for you just to go over the overarching principles of why we do what we do here. I think it's very important that you're on the same page with what I'm doing and I'm on the same page with what you're doing. So something you're going to hear me say a lot is attitude, energy, and effort. And that's kind of our, let's just say, our motto of our program. Firmly believe that if we've got a great attitude, in other words, we come into training, we're fired up, we go to practice, we're ready to roll, we're gonna have great energy. And we have great energy, we're gonna have great effort. Okay, that can go both ways. So that's something that I'm always gonna harp on our kids, but let's get into it. So why do I coach? Man, I've got a passion for developing people physically, mentally, and spiritually. I want our kids to be well-rounded individuals. I want them to be the best on the field and the best off the field, physically, mentally, and spiritually. I've also got a big passion for developing communities. So in this role, man, I get to work with all of the students and coaches at our school, which is huge, and I get excited for that. So I get to contribute in a small way towards everyone's success. Uh, at the end of the day, you guys, the sport coaches, are going to have a bigger impact, obviously, on what we do on the field. But man, I love being able to be behind the scenes and contributing to what we do. So my perspective when it comes to coaching is summed up in a really great way from Coach Tony Holler up in Illinois. Illinois is a track coach. If you ever heard of Feed the Cats, it's that guy. Kids are good at what they like, but man, they're obsessed with what they love. I want to be the best part of their day. I selfishly want to be the best part of their day, even more so than when they come to their sport. I just want athletics in general to be the best part of their day. And if it's not, then man, I think we're doing something wrong with how we're coaching our athletes. Also, with this, I want to talk about how we're athletic performance. That's our department. It's not strength and conditioning. I think when we use the term strength and conditioning, because again, I think that words are very important. I think it puts what I do in a box, and I think as coaches, you're assuming that I only know two things, and that's strength and that's conditioning. Where really what I do and what I contribute to is athletic performance as a whole. I'm doing a lot more than just working on strength and working on conditioning. We're working on uh, our speed, our power, our aerobic base, our conditioning, yes, but we're also working on internal and external factors that are going to help our athletes on and off the field. So as we just talked about perspective, something I want you to think about is who influences our athletes. So all of our athletes at SFCA, who has an influence on these kids' lives and their thought process to either training, coming to practice, and how they are at practice. Think about it for a second. Anybody at SFCA, faculty, staff, admin, athletic training, obviously myself, sport coaches, their club coaches, family and relatives, friends, social media, all of these things are going to influence the student athlete and how they think about the program, how they think about training, how they think about practice. Okay, so you want to make sure that you surround your program with the right people and get these people on the same page as you. For specifically for athletic performance and what we're doing, man, I want every single teacher in our building telling their kids to come to training. I want every single coach telling our kids to come to training because one, you trust me and we're on the same page. And man, at the end of the day, we all want the same goal, and that's to ultimately win. And obviously, it's a lot bigger than just winning, but we all want the same thing. So keep that in mind as you're building your programs. So with that, I want to talk about what I don't do. I don't strategize for games. I don't handle depth charts. I don't determine lineups, and I don't create offensive and defensive schemes, right? So I don't coach your sport. At the end of the day, I don't coach your sport, but man, I do specialize in physical preparation. You are never going to see me come to your practice and tell you what play to run, how to run your drills and things like that. I'm never going to coach your sport, right? I'm never going to do that because you are the expert in your field. Uh, and why would I tell an expert what to do if I don't know what to do exactly? So what do I do? I think there's three big things that I do with our weight training and what we do with athletic performance. Number one, obviously be improve athletic performance. That's going to be speed, power, strength, change of direction, agility, and conditioning among other things. Going to increase resiliency and robustness. So in other words, just ability to prevent injuries and handle unexpected situations. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to eliminate injuries, because that would be ridiculous, and I would never put my salary on that. Now, our athletes may not be as injured, or if they do get injured, it may not be as severe. Last thing I think that we do, and it's arguably the most important, is, man, we build confidence. And particularly with our female athletes, I think that our training is going to have the biggest impact on those athletes, because I honestly think when a female athlete sees that they are strong and that they can handle a lot of weight, something just changes mentally, physically, emotionally with these athletes, and they just become absolute dogs on the field. So I'm excited to see what our girls do as we develop this program. So why should you trust me? It's a great question. I specialize in athletic performance. That's it. I've learned what to do and what not to do. I've never been a personal trainer working with Gen Pop or general population. All I've ever done is work with athletes at a variety of levels. This is what I love doing and love improving in people. I'm going to be your biggest fan and supporter. If you lose, I lose. If you win, I win. I've got my hand involved in essentially every team on campus. So if, again, you lose, I lose, you win, I win. So at the end of the day, when we're successful, that's what I want. That's it. So we are in the same boat, going in the same direction. I want the same exact thing that you do. Then I get to train our middle school and high school athletes year round. And I'm the only coach that will potentially see all of our athletes in a year. None of our other coaches are going to see every single one of our athletes. And that's not sounding arrogant or more important than I need to sound. It's just what it is. And I get the chance to see them all the time. And I firmly believe that you're going to see a dramatic difference in development in our athletes if we get a full buy-in from you guys as coaches and our athletes. I think in 2 years, we're going to see just a whole new athletic department and on-field performance. Because right now we're establishing our base, our foundational movements, making sure our athletes move well. So we're kind of all in the same boat. But man, once our middle school athletes and our younger athletes have established those movement proficiencies, once they get older, man, we could just go, and I don't have to worry about the basic fundamental things before I can trust them to load, because they're going to know that movement standard and they're going to do it at a high level. So man, we can train and we can get after it year round. And again, talking about I've learned what to do and not to do, you're getting the best version of me right now. The past 10 years I've been able to fail, and so I've really learned, again, what not to do. There's reasons why I do what I do. There's reasons why we don't do certain things, and again, we can talk about those things in more depth as we go. So just to give some perspective, when we're talking about I'm training these athletes year round, a typical season, it's 12 to 16 weeks. If you look there on the left, days with athletes. If we have a one sport athlete, you're going to see them 60 to 80 times in a year. Okay, 60 to 80 times in a season. If you look to the right, if I get an athlete in all of the summer and I get them in school in class, I'm going to see them over 200 times in a year. Okay, that's 200 training sessions. And man, if we got athletes that are training that much in a year, that's a life-changing amount of sessions. I mean, that's life-changing. The biggest factors when it comes to development is consistency and frequency. And if our athletes are that consistent, that man, they get over 200 sessions or over 120 sessions in a year, that's going to change their life, and it's going to change the dynamic of our department. So you've heard me talk a ton about, getting the kids out there and training a lot, but there's a lot of factors that impact on-field performance. The three biggest things that are going to impact on-field performance, which ultimately is what matters, is going to be sleep, nutrition, and hydration. Those three things we have no control over as coaches. The athletes have 100% control over that. How much they sleep, how much they eat, and how much they drink. If those three things are not dialed in, then it's not going to matter what we do off the field at all. Not going to matter. Okay? There's also stress, their mental health, temperature and humidity, so the weather, we have zero control over that. Physical adaptations, so that's my world, that's everything that I do, and that's a very small factor. Technical and tactical ability, which is all you, and that's how they play the sport, which is arguably the most important factor aside from those three things they control. And then load management, in other words, the volumes, the intensities that we do during the week. So what's the goal of SFCA athletic performance? At the end of the day, it's just develop better athletes. If it's not going to help them sprint faster, jump higher, and improve athletic potential, we're not going to waste our time to do it. Okay, again, if it's not going to improve on-field performance, why am I going to do it? So how do I develop better athletes? Well, there's three questions I ask, and I just alluded to them, is will this let our athletes sprint faster, jump higher, and increase athletic potential? Again, if it's not going to do those things, we're not going to do it. Okay, for some athletes, that may be getting their squat better. For others, it may be getting their run form better. It just depends. Okay, but again, improving overall athleticism is the number one goal. So why are we focusing on speed? Well, speed is the one quality that raises all ships. It raises all other qualities when we improve it. Our improving strength is going to improve speed up to a point depending on the athlete. But other than that, we're going to need to work on speed pretty regularly because it's the first quality that drops off of all the other qualities if we don't work on it regularly. And when I say regularly, I mean multiple times during the week. So let's look at this example of athlete A and athlete B. Let's say their top speed in miles per hour for athlete A is 18 miles an hour, athlete B is 16. In 1 second at max velocity, athlete A is going to travel 26 feet per second, athlete B is going to travel 23 feet per second. So that's almost 3 feet of separation between athlete A and athlete B per second, or closing speed, depending on if you flipped. So in 3 seconds, they're going to be separated, I should say, 8.5 feet every 3 seconds. Okay, so that's 16 feet in 6 seconds, or closing that distance, depending on which way they're going. Same thing at 80%. There's going to be a almost 2.5 feet per second separation, or 7 feet in 3 seconds. So man, if we can improve those qualities on field, it's going to be a life-changing difference. So what are the 5 keys of our program? We're going to be focused on developing overall athleticism year-round. Okay, again, that's sprinting faster, jumping higher, improving athletic potential. We're a general physical preparation program. We are not a sport-specific program. Unless they are playing their sport, they are not doing something sport-specific. Okay, if they're not throwing a baseball, if they're not shooting a basketball, if they're not swimming in the pool, it's not sport specific. So everything we do is general. Okay. With that, yes, there are some things that might apply better to your sport that we may do, but I would never call it sport specific. We're not a numbers focused program. So I don't care what they bench, squat, deadlift. Yes, do I want those numbers to increase? 100%. Okay, but I'm not going to be hanging my hat on the fact that if John got his squat up 5 more pounds. There's so many factors into improving performance that the weight on the bar is a very small part of that. And we're going to celebrate all improvements in performance. That may be speed, that may be a mobility, that may be just confidence, stability, something. Okay. We must develop movements first and output second. So in other words, we've got to move well and be able to get in the right positions before I ever worry about the outputs. If our athletes can't squat, if they have trouble squatting, then they have problems sitting in a chair, and that's not good. Okay, and if they can't move their shoulder blades, they can't squeeze their shoulder blades together, then we can't hold the right positions to say deadlift really well or throw a ball overhead. Once we get that, man, then we're chasing outputs. Okay, then that's where we're really pushing that. But we've got to establish that first, and we're in the middle of doing that right now, which can be a little frustrating for some athletes and coaches. But at the end of the day, I'm responsible for these athletes, and if something happens to them in the weight room, I have to answer for it. So I'm very confident in what we're doing. Okay, it just takes a little time. And then lastly, review training from an energy system perspective, which we'll go over next. So there's three main energy systems in the body. There's ATP, glycolytic, and aerobic. Our ATP is our max outputs, so this is speed, power, strength. Glycolytic is like our middle ground. This is our sustained high intensity movements like our field and court sports. You can think of CrossFit. Okay, the middle ground, it burns. It's not fun. Nobody likes being there. And then aerobic is our capacity and recovery, or just low intensity activities. These are long distance runs. These are sustained efforts for 10, 20 minutes plus. Okay, these energy systems is what we focus on again when we're in our training. Our program's focus is going to be on ATP and the aerobic energy systems. Okay, we don't worry too much about the middle ground, and I'll talk about that in a second. So with ATP, this is our max output, speed, power, strength. This is a highly trainable energy system. Okay, this is basically all we do in the weight room. It's 10 seconds or less, big time movements. Then the aerobic base. This is also highly trainable. Allows athletes to train more often and longer, and it's done through circuit and continuous style training, or running, rowing, different things. Okay, aerobic training doesn't have to be going out for a 10-mile run. Okay, there's other things we will do in the weight room that trains that system that isn't running. And then glycolytic, we don't really touch that in our training. Not saying we won't. Okay, there's times of the year we may. But it's not where we spend the majority of our time because it's not highly trainable. It's really genetically determined how well you can handle that type of work. Okay, some people have a huge bandwidth, others have a very small. Now, it is trainable, but you're not going to get nearly the return on investment if I spend my time in that middle ground compared to the other two. So what does the first 6 months look like? We're in the middle of doing that right now, and we're establishing movement standards and fitness levels across the board. Our athletes got to be able to move well. Okay, and if we're building our foundation upon a body that can't move really well, then we're wasting our time. We're missing the boat of what we're really trying to do. When we push past and we're focusing on our numbers instead of moving well first, we're really just feeding into our ego, and that's a problem. And that's something I think we're kind of struggling with right now. But again, we're going to get to that. We're going to load our kids. But guess what? We can't do a squat. We can't sit in a chair. I'm more concerned about that than anything else. And then again, our athletes need to improve foundational fitness levels. I shouldn't have our kids walking up steps and being out of breath. Or if they run one lap around the gym, they're bent over dying. Can't have that. Then we're going to establish our middle school athletic performance program and progression. These kids are going to be our future. Okay, we have to start them out at a simple level, foundational stuff. Make sure they move well, get them comfortable in their bodies. Okay, I can't do the same program for my 6th graders that I do for my 12th graders. And if you are missing the boat big time. Because if you're training them the same way that you would a 12th grader, then what is that 6th grader going to do when they get older? Because you have now desensitized their nervous system to the higher levels of training that you have exposed your 12th graders to. Okay, and the big part of my job, okay, is anybody can write an 8-week summer program and kids get stronger and get better. Okay, they're in high school, they're gonna get stronger, they're gonna get better. The work comes in is after that summer and the kids aren't getting stronger and they've kind of stalled and they're seeing some problems, is what are you going to do the other 10 months out of the year to get these kids strong, okay, and continuously stronger. Okay, that is where my expertise comes into play. And again, we're going to continue to train these kids year round at a high level, right? But now we just got to get them there. So how can I help you? Coaches, how can I help you? Well, training your athletes daily. If they're in the weight room, I can help them. If they're not there, can't help them. Okay, so I can potentially see these kids year round, man, and that's a game-changing thing for this athletic department. I can help you with practice layout. In other words, just optimizing your order of practice. Energy system development or conditioning. I'll say this, I think that if you are doing conditioning after practice, then you're really missing the boat in terms of what you could do in practice. If your practices are structured correctly and you're running them at the right intensities, that's all the conditioning you need to do. Okay, weekly and daily load management. every practice can't be a killer. So in other words, every single day cannot be the hardest practice of these kids' lives. It's gotta wave. It's gotta be hard, medium, easy. You gotta spread out the weeks. And then tactical and technical drill design. Now, like I said earlier, I'm not going to tell you how to coach your sport, but I can help you set up drill designs in order for you to teach skills and do it at a really high level for your sport. Again, you're ultimately going to be the person that's teaching the sport, but I can help you set up the constraints that you're trying to achieve. So just kind of a summary here, last little slide is, what are the goals for the program? I want to build our athletic performance department into one of the best in the country. And I don't say that because it sounds good. I say it because I mean it. I think if we're one of the best in Florida, we're going to be one of the best in the country. Okay, and developing a program that handles 6th through 12th grade is something that not a lot of schools have. Okay, and I want to be the best at it. So the goal for the summer and the fall, first 6 months is I really want to create an environment where kids want to train. Kids should want to come see me after school or want to take my class. I want them obsessed with training, which means that they love being there. Okay. And then my yearly goal is that all of our athletes are training weekly in some sort of capacity. I don't care if it's twice a week, once a week, whatever. They're seeing me at some sort of capacity. Now, if we're doing that, we don't have to worry about this next goal, but over 75% of our female athletes are training with us. So I firmly believe that our female athletes are the foundation of our athletic department. Because when our female athletes do well, our guys kind of see that and it inspires them a bit. I also think that our female athletes just across the country tend to be an underserved population at the high school setting if they don't have a full-time strength and conditioning coach. Every men's football team across the country is training somehow. So there's not a big separation there. There's no big advantage per se. With our women's teams, they're not all getting treated the same. So if we can we're training our athletes at a high level, just like we do with the guys, we're going to see the biggest return on our investment and the quickest return on our investment with our female athletes if we get them to come train. I think we're starting to kind of get it out there and the girls are getting on board, but man, we got to get more. I want all of our girls to be training with us somehow, some way.